All right. Mark, excited to have you on the Fit for Success podcast. And I was really honored to be able to be on your podcast. And now I'd love to have you and get to ask you a bunch of questions. So welcome.
Nice. The tables have turned.
The tables have turned. Yeah. And I know you're usually doing the hosting and probably not the guest as much, I would imagine.
Yeah, we've done guesting and hosting. I love being the host. There's so much more that you can get from being the host of a podcast, but also I like asking the questions. So it's going to be a different kind of kettle of fish today, but I'm well up for this.
You're ready.
This is going to be fun.
Well,
you convinced me.
So one of the things after we had our conversation, I was thinking about is like, how did you actually get into this? Because I'm sure you didn't start as a podcaster. How did you kind of grow your career and get to the point that you were, you built your company and why did you go down that road?
Oh, this was a long, windy path. So our business, Profitable Podcasts, this is where we help entrepreneurs to launch their own podcast to measurably grow their business, not just for the sake of content or as a hobby, but fundamentally, how does it bring in clients, bring in leads, build relationships, make an impact, and help people? So that's kind of the end goal where we are right now. But in order to get here, podcasting, we kind of fell into it, but it saved our business. So with our business,
what was the business before, or what were you doing before that?
Yeah, so before then it was Unforget Yourself. So we still have this business, mindset training for entrepreneurs. So we systematize mindset for business owners. There's 9 steps, 3 cycles that we all go through. So we literally mapped out the human experience so you can identify where you're struggling, understand why it's happening from a woo and a spiritual and a scientific perspective, but also the tangible action points of exactly what to do. So that as a business is fantastic. I met Katie, we fell in love, and we created this business together. Now, it was amazing. It changed people's lives, but no one knew we existed. So it's like, how do we get our name out there? And that's the challenge of most business owners, right? So we tried organic networking. We threw so much money on agencies and paid advertising. Didn't work well. And we got to the point where it's like, let's throw the last $1,000 on Katie's credit card on the ads and then hope. And didn't work. So we turned to podcasting as, how do we get ourselves out there for free to get clients and make an impact? And it worked beautifully.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's so many podcasts popping up now. Everyone's trying to make their own podcast. A lot of it is, some people do like listening to long form, but I think at the same time, a lot of times it just gets chopped up, put into little clips and things like that. What, from what you've seen with successful podcasters, I'm not talking about the big ones like the Joe Rogans of the world and stuff like that. I'm talking about someone that's getting into it. Like, at this point, they're getting in when there's literally probably millions. I don't know how many podcasts are out there right now. What are you seeing that people that are actually having success doing versus just having a half go at it and not really making an impact?
You named it right there. Half go. So you with anything in business, anything in life, with intention. Bring intention, be strategic. What are you trying to achieve? You say, what do people do? How are they successful? Well, what defines success? So is this a hobby? Is this a business tool? What do you want your podcast to do? You see, most people produce podcasts as, let me start a podcast, which is aligned with my business, have amazing conversations, share value. And then we call that hope marketing, high optimism, poor execution. You basically created another platform or content that needs to be marketed, when most businesses they have a marketing problem. All you've done is offset the problem to, let's create another asset. Let's write a book. Now you got to market the book. Let's create a podcast. Now you got to market the podcast. So
how do you get the success without marketing the podcast?
Well, what's your intention? Is your intention for downloads? Is it for views? Is it leads and clients? Is it to produce content? What is the metric that's going to measurably grow your business?
Yeah, that's
Super
good advice.
strategic.
Yeah, that's good advice. Something to think about. So when you were kind of starting your business, how long, what were you doing before you started this?
At what point?
I don't know. Before you started your own business.
Okay, let's take you, Ephraim, let me take you all the way back, my friend. So, obviously, the accent, I'm English. So, back in the UK, I ran a marketing agency for a decade. This
Okay.
was websites, strategy, branding, user experience.
Uh-huh.
And I got to the point where I was like, I'm producing all these amazing designs and strategies for all these business owners, and they're messing it up. What's going on there?
What do you think they were, real quick, I'd love to know, I want to hear the rest of the story, but why were most business owners messing it up, from your opinion?
Because you could give fantastic designs and they would butcher it with throwing in like a paragraph where there should be a sentence.
I see.
Changing the flow, doing things based on the CEO says, I think I want it to be this way, rather than being super intentional. What does your audience want? What's going to help them to do it? Emails and branding that doesn't hit the mark. So that's what was going on. But behind the scenes, it's the human being. Us as human beings, we get in our own way, fears, doubts, and overwhelm. So on my journey of growing as an entrepreneur, of bettering myself personally and professionally, I took a load of programs, had some mentors, came to the States for workshops, events. And that's where I met Katie. And she has a background in corporate and mindset. She's like the woo, and I'm the science to the Unforget Yourself business. And realized that I think I want to help entrepreneurs evolve with this. But because I'm so logical, it wasn't just, let's just regurgitate all the beliefs, all the tools and tactics. I wanted to create something unique, which is why we created the Unforget Yourself system, to map out the human experience so people can actually see why they're struggling, identify it, understand it, and then know what to do to break the cycles. So,
yeah, makes sense.
So that's where it went from marketing, business, through to personal consulting. You, the human being.
Yeah. So being in the industry, there's a lot of people I see kind of marketing and having different approaches to marketing. What's something that you maybe believe, being in the industry, that most of your peers in the industry maybe would disagree with? Like, is there anything that you're like, they're doing it wrong, I have an outside opinion?
Good question. Let me caveat that with, again, back to the intention. Doing it wrong for what? Because everyone has their own. I went back in my marketing agency, we would produce these A/B testing, so split testing, 2 different landing pages. And then we had some competitors who ended up copying a design of ours. I'm like, cool. How do you know that you're going to copy the one that actually works? And they don't even know we're split testing. This is where it becomes interesting. So define success. Is that actually working? We don't have the metrics behind so many businesses or campaigns or podcasts. So again, I come back down to the intention. What is success? And so with that, it's not copying what you see other people do. I mean, with in the world of podcasting, for example, this is my soapbox. There are so many agencies out there telling people, be a guest on a podcast. It's the fast track to success. Is it really? Because how you show up, what you say on the podcast episode, who the audience is, there are so many variables to this. And as the guest on this podcast, again, I'm returning the favor. You were on my podcast. For me to come here, I don't know if or when this will get published, who the audience is. Am I going to perform well enough to tell people that profitablepodcasts.com, go and check it out, book a call with Mark, drop in the call to action. Is this going to work? So I don't like gambling.
Yeah. That
I
makes
like certainty. So being the host, I found is so much more beneficial. It's got more authority, more credibility. You own the content. There are so many benefits to having your own podcast. But most people think having a podcast is really hard. So be a guest. It's easy. You just show up and walk away. But that comes with the limited um, results from that, depending on what results you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It does. Walk me through, kind of as you kind of built your company, walk me through a decision that you made that might have been a hard decision, but, led you to like a really big win. What was your kind of
Um,
your thinking? What was the decision? What was the thinking? How did you have to get there?
um, yeah, I think one of the biggest decisions has been able to, with Katie and with myself, two people almost running the business.
Got
So
it.
we both have different ideas, different ways of working, different visions. And it was last year that I realized, hold on, I think Katie sees, she has a bigger vision. I'm very much the strategy, putting this together. But once I realized Katie sees bigger, she sees further. It's like you you are the CEO. You're the visionary behind this. And that was super hard to do because then I've got to step back, remove the ego behind it. So
Yeah.
whilst we're both co-owners, to have that role, that was a huge shift. Um,
I'm glad you brought that up. She's the vision. It sounds like from what you described, she's the visionary, you're the integrator, which are kind of two complementary roles. And sometimes they can clash with each other, but if they get that vibe, where they're in that flow state, they can do really big things together. So that's
yeah.
great. And I was, I like what you said with defining your roles. So I'm a big proponent. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm not a big proponent on 50-50 partnerships
Mhm.
where there's two decision makers with equal decision making power. And I'm not talking about profit splits or anything like that. What I'm really talking about is the trying to have two drivers with one steering wheel, because you can only have truly one driver. And when there's a partnership, there has to be someone that can make the final decision, and the other person has to, if it gets to that and it's like, this is the final decision, they have to say, okay, I'm going to back the play and I'm not going to sabotage the play. I'm going to back it. And I realize that's the hierarchy within the organization.
Yeah, Ephraim, square pegs, round holes. I mean, you're right. There's you don't have two steering wheels. You can both be put in different directions. So there needs to be responsibility. So there's a responsibility and accountability. I mean, this goes with any business. That's why you don't. Back to my first business, design by committee. Oh, to have 2, 5, 10 people have their input on a strategy or a design or an email sequence. Everyone has a different reason, a different fear, a different doubt, a different experience. So, yeah, I think you need to hear the voices is one thing, but to have that responsibility to know that no, this is ultimately your say. Ultimately, it lives and die. That's your hill to live and die on.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, are you finding that the most successful businesses in this space, are they more like B2C companies, B2B companies? Obviously, their approach is probably different. Their strategy is
Mm.
different. Where do you see this having the biggest impact, where someone, is it the best bang for the buck for like a B2B company versus a B2C company? How do you kind of view that?
Yeah, good question. I think it's more rather than B2B or B2C, it's P2P. person to person. It's human to human. So are you in a business that connections, relationships drive success? For a lot of, you could say B2B, consultants, agencies who talk to big corporations, B2B. So how do you use a podcast to be able to get your message across, to be seen by the CEO, the HR department, the founders? What's the foot in the door that you're going to that's going to help you? Is digesting your content going to really help you, or is it building a relationship? So it's all down to relationships. And with a podcast, you have 3 relationships. You can have a relationship with your guest, with your guest's audience, or your audience. 3 relationships. So which relationships can you leverage? And there's a great word. I love intention and I love leverage. So how do you make that work for you? So B2B, who do you talk to? Who can you bring on your podcast as a guest? Who is the audience going to be? Does your guest have an audience of your perfect fit people? If you connect with them, that's why people guest on podcasts, because they want to be seen by the other audience. But if you bring someone onto your podcast, they're going to bring their audience with you. And then they stay on your podcast. They're digesting you. You're the authority. So yeah, I think leveraging relationships makes this really successful.
Do you recommend that someone that's, say they're trying to get their own podcast going, who do you usually have them focus on to be their guests first? Would you start with their clients, with prospects? How do you, what's kind of the approach you usually map out for clients when they're getting started like that?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of people we work with, ultimately, they want leads, they want clients. That's the business side. It's marketing. It's a marketing tool. So it's a vehicle to bring in clients. So your guests and your audience, how to get your perfect fit clients to want to be a guest or listen to your podcast. Fantastic. So being able to really create an experience and environment that facilitates that. That's what it's all about.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's good. And then, where do you see you and your business in the next, where's this going to be in 5 years? If you kind of look in the crystal ball, like, what do you think's happening?
Oh, dude, you are asking the wrong person, right? That's Katie's job. No,
that's Katie's job.
When we look at,
what would she say if I asked her that?
What would she say? Well, when you look at what we've achieved in the years doing our own podcast and helping other people launch their podcasts, it's a tool. It's a tool for relationships. So with this, there's not only the relationships you build, there's the impact your podcast makes and the content it creates. So where we're going is, yes, we're going to continue to coach business owners, their teams, to launch or run their podcast, to make it bring in an ROI, to make it actually fuel their business with content, leads, and help transform people and also entertain and inspire people. Yeah. So there's a number of different ways there. But the agency model is taking on more podcasts in-house, doing the work for them. So our clients just have to just show up and just host. We do everything else behind the scenes. There's even our model, which is we now help people to insert a host into their podcast. So literally nothing that the company needs to do. We will design the right podcast to achieve your goals, build everything you need, install a podcast host into your business, and your business gets content, your business gets leads, your business gets relationships, and they do absolutely nothing. So that's thinking bigger. How do we more quickly and effectively launch podcasts that impacts the world, legacy and transformation, but grows business?
Yeah,
that's the fundamental question. If we simplify this,
the way that people are going to be listening to information is going to be significantly different in 5 years from now. I mean, I feel like in the last 5 years, it significantly changed. Podcasting has become so much more mainstream, and people started having a desire for long form content, listening to long form content. Is that trend still going up, or people's attention spans getting slower or shorter, I should say, not slower, shorter, where they want more faster short form. Like, where's this going? How are people going to be, if you go back 20 years, who is listening to podcasts? Very few. You're listening to the news or reading articles or whatever. And now it started turning to listening to someone having a longer, interesting conversation. But now people are getting TikTok brain. Like, where do you see people's
TikTok brain? Nice.
Yeah, where's the consumer brain going? They're using AI more. Like Google, like I barely use Google anymore, honestly, unless I want to see pictures. I still do use it, but I feel like when I want information, I'll use ChatGPT, for example, way more. And Google secondary, where I used to live and die by Google for decades, literally. And now it's like I use it 30% of the time, and I use 70% of the time I'm using ChatGPT for my information. Like, so how are people changing, in your opinion, in this space? How are they going to be listening in the future or consuming information, whether that's reading, listening, whatever?
Yeah, with everything, it's ease and preference. That's what we're all looking for. Because you just mentioned the biggest contradiction there in the question, which is people have TikTok brain. Our attention span is going down and down and down. Yet when people listen to podcasts, traditionally about 80% listen to the end of their chosen podcast. So there is a contradiction here. Those two worlds can't be true, right? No. So everything works. Everything is there for people. We want the easiest way to get what we want, and in a way that we want it. Now, what we've seen in podcasts is, you go back a few years, we wanted finely crafted, very slick Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn stuff, YouTube. It had to be super slick, super professional, high end, lots of editing. Now, in this day and age, this, especially in the world of AI, people are craving real. We all use AI tools. We all allow it to help our life, but also then we don't trust. Is this written by a human being? And whilst you do have AI podcast, AI hosts and AI guests, which is ridiculous to see, it has a place, but this is real. We're two real people having a real conversation. And especially with a podcast, you get to invite people behind the scenes. That's why there's so many podcasts, especially with TV stars, movie stars, sports stars. You get to hear what's happening behind the scenes. That's what social media, you get to see what's going on in the changing rooms, what people are doing in their personal life. You get to see this. So to be brought into the conversation, I think is something we're all craving. We no longer want slick, overproduced, highly professional. We want real. I think that's what's the way things are sort of shifting now. So those two ends, the two polarity, they're both growing at the same pace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, the real. It's funny. Like it has nothing to do with podcasts, but I think about. First of all, I don't have a lot of time to watch movies and shows and TV and stuff like that. But if and when I do get to watch, I have absolutely. There was a time where there was a draw I felt to like reality TV because it was different. You're like, oh, it feels real. But now I realize it's so fake that I don't want nothing to do with reality TV. There's
scripted
not
reality,
one
right?
reality TV show that I can even think of that has any draw to me whatsoever, like an absolute zero. If I am going to watch something, I'd rather have a well-scripted drama, right? And so I don't know what the metrics and what people are feeling about this, but I think it's kind of accepted that reality TV is just all fake itself now. Is that the way a lot of podcasts are going to go? Is just be like reality TV, but it's not really real?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their, again, back to intention. They have their intention for the podcast. What are they trying to achieve? Are they trying to appease the sponsors? Are they trying to build an audience? So if you're trying to build an audience, you got to be polarizing. so that you become the news, and then people are like, what's going on there? And then you attract your people. So being polarizing for the sake of being polarizing, that's where it's like, it's a game. There's a different word rather than tension. It's a game. We're all playing a game here. What game are you playing?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I think the polarizing. How often do you recommend that if you were to be a guest or have a podcast, do you recommend polarizing?
This is my personal values. I don't recommend polarizing for the sake of being polarizing. To do it naturally, like I'm polarizing. Be a host, own the platform. It's so much more than guesting. That's one of my soapboxes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do both work? They can work, but I've seen so much success by being the host. I mean, how did we become acquaintances? You were a guest on my podcast. You found me. You entered my world, which is fantastic. So I think to do it in a way that's aligned with your values, that's authentic for you, then you're naturally going to attract and repel. But to do it for the sake of it, then I think you can get yourself in trouble. You can start to go down a path that now you got to double down when it's something that you don't really believe in or don't really truly understand. But now you've got to die on that hill.
Yeah.
So I think authenticity is huge, especially in business. People, the reality, people want authenticity. People buy from the people they spend time with. Trust. We all want trust in this day and age. Do I trust that this has been written by AI? Do I trust? That's the question. People buy certainty and belief. So I would always advise, give them that certainty of you, who you are, that you care, what you care in. That, I think, that's better than any sales message you can craft for your business.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good advice. I think there's a lot of pressure to become, especially, and if you're uncertain, right, you're just going to kind of conform to what you think the audience or what you should do to attract somebody and or find a client on a podcast versus just do what is authentic and where you can really shine. I was listening to there's a cool YouTube video. Man, I forgot that guy's name, but he's got a show called The Y Files, and he like takes those conspiracies and then he like debunks them. Yeah, but he gives you. I love his format because he sucks you into the conspiracy and he just tells it like exactly the way everybody would that 100% believes it would feed it to you. And he shows you the rumored evidence around it. And then he will break into like the evidence he really found on the topic. And he debunks a lot of stuff. Then if he doesn't have evidence, but I was listening, I think when he started, he wasn't like doing that. He was just kind of doing a generic type show, YouTube show, where he was like covering different topics. And he was just running his head against the wall. And then eventually he did one on some conspiracy topic that just interested him. And he had no other reason to do it than that. And then it started taking off.
I think that's where so many podcasts start, because podcast, YouTube channels, same kind of beast. People do it. And like, I quite enjoy this. This is fantastic. But this is why there's a thing called pod fade. I think the latest stat is like 8 to 9 episodes. Most people don't get past that. And the reason why is it's not sustainable. You don't enjoy it, doesn't transform other people's lives, doesn't bring in ROI. If one of those 3 things is missing, you will quit and you will fail. So with this, a lot of people dabble and think this is fantastic, but then they run out of things to say. They're too busy focused on the content rather than what they're trying to achieve. Then you might pivot. You might look at the data, you might look at the stats, what's going on, and then you can pivot to it's not working for this. What do I want? And so it's okay to dabble. It's okay to play a bit. I mean, business ownership, this entrepreneur game it's all about play. Cool, that didn't work. Let's do something else. So to play with it is fine. But then to make sure it actually works for you, for other people, and for your business. So maybe he found as he went through this, he loved the platform, loved speaking. And once he found his niche, the thing that the other people reacted well to, that he loved, once those things overlap, it's like, this is sustainable. I enjoy this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I appreciate it. How can people find you if they want to, learn more about your system, how you help them kind of, get started down the podcast journey, whether, where can they find you and how can they get in touch?
Absolutely. If you're interested in podcasting for yourself, for your business, you can go to profitablepodcasts.com and top right corner, hit the link. You can grab a call with me and we can map out what your podcast could look like for you and show the system behind it that can actually really help your business. And if you want to just experience podcasting yourself firsthand, if you're an entrepreneur who has a great story and a beautiful business and a great mission, feel free to apply to be a guest on our podcast. And that's unforgetyourselfpodcast.com. Apply to be a guest. Say Ephraim sent you, and I'll teach you everything you need to do to have a great episode.
I love it. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate having you on.
Well, thank you so much. It's been fun. Good to see you again.
You too. All right. Well, that is a wrap. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That was fun.
You're welcome. Did you enjoy that? We covered plenty.
So that was good.
Nice. Yeah.
Why do people listen with the end of the podcast and not the beginning?
Sorry?
Why do people tend to listen to the end of the podcast versus the beginning or the middle?
Oh, no, what I said, they listen to it all the way to the end.
Oh, they do.
So once you have people that listen to your podcast, traditionally, they'll then listen to the whole thing, which is fantastic. No one else has these kind of stats on the podcast.
That's interesting.
So once you get your audience, they're committed. They want to listen to it. And it might be where they're watching it, what they're doing. Is it in the gym? Are they driving? Are they washing up? Are they on the sofa? Are they in bed? Who knows? But it's, as a platform, since we've been teaching this and guiding people through this, it's such a, it's been so much fun seeing, hold on, that works really well. What else can we do? How can that help us? And then as we started teaching this with our clients, it's like we get to see this across so many platforms, so many industries. It's kind of beautiful, which is why we have now you've been through it, our process.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
It's super fun. Great platform. I love it.
What part of the UK are you in?
I'm in Grand Rapids in Michigan.
Oh, you're in Michigan. So you're not even in the UK anymore. Do you miss it?
I've been here for 5 years now.
Okay. How do you like living in the States?
Michigan, I mean, these winters, they're something else. As a Brit, I'm not used to this. Summers are beautiful.
You're used to not seeing the sun, but you're not used to the biting cold.
Yeah, we get a little bit of summer and a little bit of winter. Michigan, it's like you get winter, 3 months, there you are. And then summer is like, this is my heaven. I'm like, yes, love it. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, man, I'm glad we got to sync up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nicely done.